interested in me, you're using me to get the audition. I only set up auditions for my homegirls who I genuinely respected and knew were legitimate talents. That's just how I operate. I never did it to where I was taking advantage of their interest in being a part of the club and being a go-go dancer there. I was very much well aware early on that I didn't want to be the guy that was like, well, I can do this, but what are you going to do for me? I'm very much in the mindset of helping people up, especially if they're talented, because I have a huge amount of respect for people who are legitimately talented. If I have the ability to help the people that I respect, I will. But there's been girls that have come to me and they're really entitled and they're like, I've go-go dance here, I've go-go dance there, I'm model, I do this, I do that. Can you get me set up with an audition? First of all, like, I don't know you, but if you want an audition, then all you have to do is just email the club and they'll point you in the right direction. They're like, well, can't you put in a good word for me? And it's like, I've never worked with you. I don't know what your work ethic is. I've never seen you perform. I can see your pictures. You're pretty hot. But here they only hire legit dancers. And it's not up to me to make that decision. You're going to have to go through the management. And then they'd be like, oh, okay, thanks. And then I'd never hear from them again. And then a couple of them would come up for an audition, but then they wouldn't make it. And so I'm like, okay, well, your talent normally speaks for itself. And if they thought that you didn't belong, then who am I to say that you do or don't? Like, I'm not going to vouch for you if you're not talented or you're not going to fit in with the crew. One of the coolest things that I thought about my crew is that nobody had egos. Everybody was super cool. It was like a family. Everybody really looked out for each other. Everybody had their lives outside of go-go dancing, wasn't their entire identity. And whenever I'd start talking to a girl, or if I'm kind of starting to get to know a girl that I was interested in, they would always have these superficial assumptions of who these girls were or even who I was because of what we did for a living. And I have to explain to them, like, no, they're not like that at all. And they're just like, well, I don't know. I'm just like, okay, you see that girl over there? She teaches elementary. You see the other girl over there? She works for the IRS. That girl over there, she's higher up working at a bank. This girl over here, she's a filmmaker. And people are just like, oh, really? And then once they would actually get to know us, they're like, oh, you guys aren't what I thought you were at all. And it was just like, yeah, we're people. The shit that you see when we're up on stage, maybe it's a piece of who we are, but it's not all of what we are or who we are. I think a lot of people had a hard time understanding that. And so this kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier with guys seeing girls doing this and they're like, oh, they're already a part of this. They're inviting this. That girl's a slut, so she's going to be a slut for me. Then they get turned down. They're just like, oh, you're a bitch. And they get all mad. No, dude, this is all a fabricated experience to get people excited. You are taking this in the wrong way. Now, not to say that some of the girls would see guys from the crowd and be like, oh, he's cute, he seems nice, and then they would hang out with them and then eventually start dating. And I know a few of my friends have actually married guys that they met in the club and actually had amazing lives and stuff as moms, housewives and stuff. But for the vast majority of the guys that they would meet, they would tell me in our dressing room, like, oh, this guy, he was so nice, but he turned out to be a piece of shit. And I didn't know this guy was doing hard drugs and he tried to get me to do them.
I feel like strippers and models have some of the worst boyfriends.
That's true.
Like, even the stories that I'm listening from the Playboy thing, like some of the older gals, like from the 70s, tragic.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of them say their boyfriend sent their picture into Playboy. So their boyfriend got them started. And when your boyfriend gets you started, now he thinks he owns you and your career.
Yeah, because then they're like, oh, I'll be your manager.
Or you are nothing without me. I saw the talent in you.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like a girl told me to send my picture into a magazine. She saw me at a club and she was a showgirl and she had magazines. She pulled me in the dressing room and she said, you should be in these magazines. What are you doing here? I tell my boyfriend, he gets me the magazines. He got me several different magazines. I remember like one of them was like even a Pamela Anderson Playboy one. And But the magazine she was showing me was called Gallery, and it was a girl next door, and you win $25,000. So because I told him what the girl said, and he lined up the photographer.
Yeah, exactly. You can't take possession of somebody's career because it's not you, it's the artist, it's the person who's modeling or dancing or doing whatever. And I think it's really shitty that people do that and they're like, oh, you wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for me. It's like, yeah, I'm grateful. I've shown you gratitude. It's like, but you don't own me and you don't own my career because this is me.
I was talking about guys. Now I don't even want to tell the story now. Forget that story. Forget that story. I'm good. I have the best boyfriends. Okay, so my point was my boyfriend at the time claimed my modeling career and like told people years later that he got me started in modeling because he called the photographer and paid $150 for him to shoot me.
Yeah, like you're the one actually having to do the work.
Right. You still have to be attractive and go do the shoot and get on the plane. But like I said, it was this girl's idea. A girl told me about it. I never would have known about this contest. So
Well, we're all glad you did.
thank you.
Yeah, no, but in a lot of those podcasts that we listen to where girls are talking about their experience with guys and their boyfriends, and a lot of these girls who are our peers in the industry, whether they're strippers or OF models or porn stars or whatever, it seems that in a lot of cases, most even, they end up with guys that end up being super toxic to their lives.
Yeah.
These guys either live a lifestyle that these girls want to be a part of, or there's just a level of danger that's involved with dating those guys. I think that's part of the reason why women are so attracted to those murder mystery type shows or those true crime documentaries where they're following these serial killer guys. It's crazy because then there's all these women who start reaching out to these serial killer guys that are in jail. And I think it's that level of danger that they're attracted to. I don't know if it's something that they think that they can tame, but in my experience, it really seems that they really like to see how close to the fire they can get without getting burned.
Which and they're not even good looking and bad. Most of my friends' boyfriends are not even kidding.
So I don't know if there's money involved. I don't know if there's just attention involved, but it always ends up working out bad for the girls.
Yeah.
And I can't really say anything bad about these guys because I've had girls tell me that I'm a bad boy.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't really think that I'm a bad boy. I'm not in and out of jail. I don't do drugs. I'm not out here slapping hoes or anything like that. But they would be like, oh, you're a bad boy because you can fight and you're not afraid. Okay, once you get to know the real me, you're going to realize that person that you think I am is not me, and you're not going to be interested. It's happened. Over and over again, meeting girls while I was performing, we'd start talking or start dating, and then they would get bored. I even had a girl one time, she kept trying to fight me, scream and yell, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done. This is stupid.
Wow.
We're not going to do this. You have yourself a nice life. And they're like, what? You're not even like hit me or nothing? And it's like, bitch, what the is wrong with you? No, I'm not going to hit you. Like, the it's happened several times. So I'm just like, no, I'm not going to do that. No, and I can't say that it's common for everybody. And I know that I've lived a life that's much different than most of the dudes, but just I've had enough experience with it to where the first time it happened, I was like, this is crazy. I thought it was just a one-off thing. And then it happened again. And then it happened again. And it's like, oh, these bitches are crazy. I realized it was because they weren't chasing me because of who I was. They were chasing me because of who they thought I was. I get it now. But then I see some of these girls who are dating drug dealers or con artists, and they're all happy. They know what's going on and they love being a part of that until their dude gets popped or killed. And all of a sudden they're like, how did this happen? Why did this happen? It happened because this is the lifestyle that you chose, and got too close to the flame and you got burned.
Speaking of that, I noticed like a lot of the girls at the Playboy Mansion were very desperate to sleep with Hef.
Oh yeah, I bet.
So they were like